This gathering tonight is to welcome prospective board members and volunteers, and really to introduce you to past and current board members and volunteers, and give you an opportunity to understand a little bit more about the chapter. Some of you are not yet members, and we hope to lure you into membership, and some of you are new members, and some, like myself, who took a more active role many years after joining IABC. I joined IABC, I think, in around 2000, and year after year paid my dues, and was really eager when I would get the communications from IABC Global, and thought that the resources that IABC Global provided were really robust and exciting, but didn't really tap into the local network. And I worked in a corporate job and was running a corporate communications, and didn't really have a lot of colleagues. And eventually I just thought, you know, this is really, I need to have some network and to share some of the joys and the misery of what I was doing. And so about 4 years ago, one of our really active board members who couldn't make it here this evening, Kamna, contacted me, and we had a series of conversations about a role on the board, and I joined as the VP of Finance, nothing like jumping in, which was a great role. I mean, I must say, if any of you have any financial background or any desire to learn more about finance and numbers, this is a great opportunity, especially for independents that don't have any background in numbers, where you can, you know, really, and that role is open going forward. We call it the VP of Operations, so it's actually expanded from just numbers to...
So it's also scary.
No, there's nothing scary about it. But anyway, and then I moved on, and here I am, the president. But it's been a wonderful experience, and tonight you're either meeting or can meet more of our current members and also volunteers. It's not just that you have to step up and commit to this year-long or 2-year-long board position, but we do have a lot of volunteer opportunities, which gives you an opportunity to sort of step in and taste what it's like, but you still get that exposure to the board and to the network. So I do want to start with just asking those people who are on the board or serving as volunteers to just sort of raise your hands, and so that we can all see them, and we'll just sort of slowly, quickly go through and just say your name and what role you fulfill.
Rika Jorgensen, and I'm the VP of Programs. Do you want?
Yeah, just go through.
Just volunteer.
Oh, volunteer. Sorry.
Am I a volunteer?
No.
Not yet.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you can raise your
on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm on the region board, but I'm a past president of the chapter. Molly Walker. I was going to say, who are you?
David McGinn, and I served on the chapter in previous years in programs and member outreach and sponsorships a little bit, and provide whatever time and services I can this year.
Lisa Stockwell, and I am this year the website director. We've kind of revamped the old website and are in constant need for new content, developing it as we go. But going forward, Janelle, who is over here, and I will be dealing with communications and oversight of Impact Communications.
I'm Ed Cameron. I'm VP of Operations for the chapter.
I'm Linda McDaniel, and I'm the chair of, we call it ICR, but I think it's Independent Consultants Roundtable.
Communicators.
Communicators, sorry. I'm so used
whatever.
to ICR. Sit in the corporate ICR.
My name is Celine Chan, I'm Director of Event Publicity. So thank you for coming.
Good job.
Allison.
I'm Alison Harrison. I've been, in the past year, I've been working with Lisa on the website. I used to run the ICR, and before that I was, I think I was in the communications team when we were trying to move the newsletter from into an electronic format, which was not as long ago as you might think. And I'm moving out of the web team, and I will be helping colleague, no, he's not here, is he? To run what we call the Networking Night dinners, which are for more seasoned members and invitation only.
Diane?
So I'm looking forward to that.
My name is Diane Fraser. I also am the chapter and past director of the Pacific region. This year I've been on the nominating committee and been involved in judging. There are a number of invitations for petitions of other chapters in the region and the International Association Board, and that's a great chance.
That is a really good point. That's a really exciting, as a member, you will get an opportunity to participate as a judge in these international judging competitions and see what your colleagues are doing from around the globe.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, who doesn't like to be a critic?
Yeah. Get your little nose in there and see what other people are doing. Yeah. Yeah, Janelle?
My name is Janelle McDonald. I currently serve as the Director of Social Media for our chapter. And as Lisa mentioned, I'll be helping with the
And Stacy King-Gordon, what do you do?
Hi.
Hi, dear.
What do I do?
Yeah. For us.
Oh, I'm the co-VP. Hello, I'm the co-VP of marketing, and this has been the first year that we've even had a marketing role. So my co and I, Terry Peckham, who I don't think is here today.
No, he's not.
We have spent the year sort of just helping the chapter figure out how to essentially talk about who we are, what we do, and what value we bring to members. And so we've spent the year working on a messaging framework that we're starting to use in all of our communications.
Yeah, and actually we have the messaging, some of the messaging framework here. It's posted on this mirror over here on the wall that Stacy and her partner did. That is our sort of elevator spiel. That's kind of who we are, and it really kind of lays it down as a chapter. So if you haven't had a chance to read that, you might want to see that. That really crystallizes our vision and our mission as a chapter. And that sort of segues very nicely into Preston.
What a good segue. What I mean by that is that the work that Stacy and Terry has been doing is kind of allowing us to practice what we preach, I think, a little bit more effectively. As we all know, whether you want to call it, the shoemaker's children, they have allowed us to articulate what we do as a chapter. As far as my 5 or 6 years of experience, kind of better than we've had. I think that also sets up a good context for for the next year. We are. The plan is to do a better job doing what we do best. And as communicators, we know that that's not only articulating what we do and why we're here, but also as a lot of folks who may know me, I like to kind of stand on the soapbox that we're all here for a reason. All of us are here, whether it's to meet people or get new business or grow their professional skills or personal network and professional network. I was just talking to folks in Business Wire over here. There's an opportunity in this chapter to kind of play in the playground a little bit. In a volunteer organization, you have an opportunity to take some chances that you may not be able to take during your day job. And for us to stand back and say, we're creating a context for people to play. What better kind of culture to create within a chapter like this? For those of you that don't know IABC, just a quick overview that we are a very small part of a very big picture. To state the obvious, not only because we're communicators and there's very blurry lines in terms of how communicators are defined throughout many professions around the globe. IABC is, I think it's almost a 17 to 20,000 or so person association. The San Francisco chapter is considered a large chapter. For those of us that have been involved for a while, we are looking forward to kind of living up to expectations. There's only about 275 to 350, and that's kind of a big range, but over the years it kind of goes up and down in terms of the size of the San Francisco chapter. There's a sister chapter right down in the Silicon Valley that's smaller. Say, okay, if it's webinars, some other things that we can do together, how do we make the best use of everyone's time? So that's something that we've been focusing on quite a bit. To circle back to some of the things Morgan teed up, there are some opportunities to get involved. The purpose of this event is to recognize not only some of the accomplishments from some of the volunteers over the past year, just to call out a couple people. I know we just went through quite a few people, but I did want to acknowledge Linda McDaniel. Where'd she go? Okay, we'll circle back here in a second. Okay. She has done an extraordinary job with, and of course, Allison knows how difficult of a job Independent Communicators Roundtable is.
As does Stacy.
Yes.
As does Stacy. She blew you out of the water. Okay, so we've got two of the three, and hopefully Linda will come back. Folks that have done an amazing job really representing the independent communicator. There are many of you here in this room, and we know as a chapter, as much as we need to involve many different kinds of people, from large organizations to the independent communicator to designers to all the facets of communicators, that's one of 4 or 5 primary opportunities that folks like that have to get involved and get engaged and get out of their house. and network with other folks that are of like minds. Also wanted to acknowledge Rika. The work that you've done for the programs and events in the past year has been exceptional. Whether you know it or not or see the fruits of your labor, you've been able to really lay a foundation that we're able to be that much more successful for the next year. I know and I appreciate you staying in this role and kind of partnering with us along this journey. Linda, I mean, I can keep going through the list, and there's just so many folks that have done such an amazing job. The free drinks, the good food, all of that stuff tonight is just a little way to acknowledge some of the folks that have done such great work over the past year. So I want to thank all of you and cheers to that.
It really paved the road for you and your presidency and
preaching to the I'm not sure if this piece of paper can allow me to demonstrate all the ways that and all of the things that you have done. It's just really set the table for success.
grease the cogs, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to, all laughing aside, I want to give a sincere recognition and thank you.
Oh,
Thank you,
for all
Mom.
the work you've done.
You're passing the baton.
Silver spoon.
The silver spoon award.
Thank you. For those that may not know, of course, all the volunteers have, but Morgan has been quite busy over the past year, traveling up and down the coast, dealing with professional and personal things. And I have to say, throughout everything, the ability that she has had to be present when needed has been really, really
Thanks.
helpful.
And thank you. And that's one of the camaraderie that you get from this experience is really quite extraordinary. And you know, when the chips are down, that you can sort of call on your colleagues, and we try to build up a network within each one of the groups. You know, we have a team, and so you know, no one person is left holding the bag. It really is a team effort. If it's communications or membership, which is really quite fun, and it helps when you're a volunteer. You know you can come in, and tonight a lot of our board members couldn't make it. They have commitments at work with their families, and we really honor that. That's a huge part of the volunteer experience, which for me has been the #1 growth experience for me, is to learn that unlike the corporate world, when you expect people to show up, you just take a big deep breath and you realize that you're working with a group of volunteers and you are a volunteer yourself. And I have experienced both sides of the coin now, where I wasn't able to step up and likewise other folks can't. And that's a really wonderful thing. You build up this network of people and you get the job focused and the work focused, and at the end of the year, we're almost at the end of the year, we've really managed to accomplish exactly what we had set out to accomplish last July. So it's a rewarding experience.
Absolutely. And I want to circle back to what I touched on earlier before I quickly go through what some of the volunteer opportunities are and say a little bit, very little bit about them. To that soapbox I mentioned earlier, as much as we all can be clear about why everyone's in this room, the better experience everyone's going to have. Whether it's growing a specific skill or meeting a certain kind of person or pushing yourself a little bit. In this playground I mentioned that where you can't really lose. No one's going to give you a hard time. No one's getting paid. You know? But
Let's be real, right?
let's be real. But as clear as we can be about why everyone is here, the more we can support each other in getting what they're looking for. So really quickly, to speak to some of the roles, the way that this works, to be very simple, is if you're interested in any of these roles, let Chris Johnson know, let me know. We've had quite a few people that have been identified for a bunch of different spots. There's just to give you a little sense, there's about, gosh, I did the calls over the last month, almost 30 or so people that are volunteers of this chapter. So if you do the math, it's like 10%. If you do look at any 300-person organization and you look at the level of engagement, it's not bad. You know, considering some of our members get corporate membership and they just sign up, whether they show up or not, they're just a member. So I think that says a lot about the chapter. More than anything, I think it says a lot about the potential and the opportunity that we all have to just grow this community of folks that we get a chance to hang out with, whether it's in person or in our LinkedIn group or some of those other cool opportunities. So really quickly, there's the VP of Operations that was mentioned earlier. It's an opportunity to learn finances. I have to say, because of Ed and the great work that Margan did and then Ed did, you know, and then we now have we have one person who gets paid, and that's the person who basically manages the books and the budgets and some of the other board minutes and things like that. And
The dredge work, she really does.
she really does.
Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity to basically help manage the budget and some of the accounts, little things like that. Director of Communications, this is really a role, if you're new especially, to partner with the communications group to get some of the work done where you don't have to own everything. You can just kind of help out and learn and then potentially step into a more formal role later. Social media, there's event awareness, and then there's just sustaining the conversation online and all the different platforms that we participate in, as you would imagine communicators would. So there's an opportunity to have a little bit more of a formal voice than just your own. So that's something that I think is really advantageous about the Director of Social Media role. Member outreach, it's kind of, it's open. You know, what's interesting about this opportunity is it gives somebody a chance to really define what kind of outreach we feel is appropriate for our membership. And more than anything, make sure that folks are getting what they pay for. You know, it is, although it's what, $250, $275 or so a year now, to be a member of this global organization, we want to make sure as much as possible, other than getting discounts on events, people are getting their money's worth. So it's an opportunity to be involved in that conversation. The mentoring program. I went to Miami a couple months ago at Leadership Institute. Some of us did. No, Linda, we went. And we're able to really share what we put together, and the team has put it together. I don't take any credit for it. In terms of the mentoring program, it's an opportunity for any kind of communicator, whether they're senior or junior, little experience or tons of experience, to either give back or get a chance to stay connected with somebody to speak to about what it's like being in the communicator's profession in the area. Have someone to talk to in kind of a private context, which is really nice. I've been able to be involved in the mentorship program, and I'll tell you, from this event that we did a couple months ago, the program that we have here is really kind of setting the standard for a lot of other mentoring programs and other chapters around the globe, which is just really great. More and more folks are joining the chapter just to be involved in the mentoring program. Director of Branding, this is a graphic design role. So for whether it's anybody in this room or if you know any designers, particularly maybe junior designers right out of school, it's an opportunity to be involved in a formal brand audit for the IABC materials online and offline, and volunteer to bring some consistency and kind of raise the bar in terms of how we're communicating in terms of visual design and branding for our chapter, which is also another area of focus for this next year, which, as you imagine, communicators should be doing. ICR director, as much as is Linda back? Did she have to jet out? She's 925, very good. She is staying involved, but can't continue to be involved every single month at these events. So for those independent communicators, please show up. This is a monthly event, and get a sense of how it's run. And there's another really great opportunity to stay connected to independent communicators and consultants. Individual events. Many volunteers in this room and outside of this room are going to be making events happen. whether it probably will be a topic that you're very experienced in or very passionate about. And this is an opportunity just to make the event happen. I know, Sarah, we've talked about events like this around coaching. There are many topics that are very relevant to our association, so there are opportunities to just be involved and make one of these events happen. Lastly, content. Those of you that have a perspective or a point of view that are interested in sharing it, we have platforms to do that, that allow you to stay connected with formal associations such as IABC and make sure that your voice is heard and get an opportunity to also get feedback and integrate into some of the other kind of key points that we would imagine our chapter would represent. So those are the volunteer opportunities. Make sense?
Yeah.
Interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Many different ways of getting involved. So if you have any questions about any of those, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, so maybe what we'll do is just ask the current VPs that are here, or if there isn't a VP in a group and a director's here, just again, so that for those of you that might want to mingle and ask questions specifically of the folks that are doing things, you want to just say again that you are?
The VP of Programs.
Programs, and this is Programs, Professional Development, and this is where a big opportunity is with folks who might want to help coordinate specific events, and gives you an opportunity to really explore a topic that is somewhere you want to go, something you want to learn about, something you know about and want your imprimatur on. It's a great opportunity to get exposure by working with the programs group in helping to bring content to the membership. Lisa, you are in the website and content, et cetera, et cetera. So then we have over here Stacy, who is in marketing, and that's, the brand initiative would be over in Stacy's group. Mimi has been in the program development for a couple of years, so she's another go-to person to learn about that. Very importantly, Ed has been the VP of Operations, so he can really do share, and he followed me in this role, and it is a great role, and yeah, and he would be happy to share with you.
Really?
Yeah, no, we've hired the number person, so you really don't need. And Stacy does this for a living, where she supports PRSA as well, and other nonprofit organizations. So she knows the Robert's rules and how to run the minutes and the meetings and take the minutes, and she keeps certainly me in check. But she also does the budgeting and knows all that stuff. It's just somebody on the board has to be responsible from a fiduciary responsibility. But as well, excitingly, one of the things that I can say about the VP of Operations is we have a lot of money in this chapter. And
we get to spend it.
And we get to spend it, and I know that I sort of fell down on, that this wasn't one of my priorities, but I know that Preston, who has more experience as an entrepreneur running an organization, he owns and runs a company, and he knows how to spend money, in the right way. Appropriately. So he's got all sorts of vision about how because we want to put this money to work for our membership.
Yes.
And there's quite a bit of it. And the VP of Operations is going to take a very pivotal role in helping us to strategize on how to spend this money. So that's kind of fun, and that's something to add to anybody's repertoire. Let's see, I think that's kind of the VP director. Oh, Janelle is social media, and she's been doing just an absolute phenomenal job. For those of you that are on our social media channels, you can thank Janelle and talk to her about that if that's an area that you want to explore. I think a lot of folks want to learn more about that and step up, and we give you that opportunity here to go ahead and go for it. So, and Celine, event marketing here. So she knows all about what we've been doing in order to market the event. So if that's something that's kind of interesting to you, talk to Celine. She's been with us for a couple of years and done just an incredible job. So,
lastly, I know it's taking a lot of time and there's still more to drink and eat. So I want to say a couple things, Janelle, about your experience in the last, how many years has it been?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, okay.
Yeah.
30, 60 seconds on your experience in IABC.
Sure, yeah. I came to IABC to volunteer to gain a new skill set because I wanted to change the trajectory of my career, and that's worked. So if there's any area you want to explore, things you find interesting, things you want to learn more about, this is where you do it. And there's a lot of support to help you find your way, and I can't recommend it enough.
Molly.
Wow. So just really quickly, I'm a past president of the chapter, and I am now involved in the Pacific Plains region, which is the regional organization between the chapter and the international. And Diane is also a former Pacific Plains region director. And what I do, I'm a past president of the chapter. I think it was 2007, 2008, maybe.
Something like that.
So I know all these people, and I can't tell you how happy I am to see the energy at this chapter. And I think Diane feels the same. I mean, when you throw all your, blood, sweat, and tears, and then things seem to continue, it's very exciting. But for me, it's been all about community and learning to be a leader and things that I thought I could never do, but somehow you do them, and it's really incredible. And I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something else that was important, but pardon? Region, right. So what I do at the region level is I actually support 3 chapters like this chapter. And I'm working with the Sacramento chapter, which is a kind of a young chapter, and they've been struggling, and they're terrific. And also the San Diego chapter, which it actually is a reconstituted chapter. They had actually gone away, and now they're back, and they're wonderful. And also the Oregon-Columbia chapter, which is in Portland, and which is also a terrific chapter. But some chapters are doing better than others, and there's lots to share. And I think it's a really interesting organization, and I'm pretty dedicated to it because I've been able to see all the great things that happen for me. And you get a lot more Twitter followers when you're
That is true.
It's really true. It's really true.
Just one thing to speak to, as you called out, is just the global aspect of it. So you can't talk about that enough. There's something to be said about the fact that you can go to most big cities around the globe and put a tweet out that you're from this chapter, and you show up, and then you just everyone takes care of you. And that's something I've been able to take advantage of, and
Yeah,
makes me
go to
feel great.
Paris and
Tokyo.
this whole network. But another thing too that came to mind that's really the way that we're structured is at this chapter level, and then we have this regional level, so that you're not just left at the chapter level global, but the regional sort of handholds the chapters, and then you have the global. But also at the chapter level, which is really great for those that are signing on to be directors and then grow into VP roles, is that we have these opportunities for education at the regional level and the global level. And the Leadership Institute, or the PPR, which is the Pacific Plains region that we belong to, has events for the leaders of the chapters. And the chapter sends our chapter leaders, different leaders, future leaders, just anybody that really shows the initiative and wants to do this, we send you to these different meetings and conferences, if you will, around the country. And that's a lot of fun, because what you do is get a chance to meet leaders from other chapters. And there's also the global conference every year, which is something that, hopefully those of you that can attend one of those in the years coming, because that's the ultimate experience. But more easily, more affordably, we send folks that are our chapter leaders to these other national, I would say. But there's actually the Leadership Institute is a global,
yes.
And we get leaders that are coming in from around the country to attend this, so that you can meet people from Asia and Africa and Europe and hear about what the issues are and the best practices. And so you're really learning not only from us, but you're learning from these other chapters around the globe. So if you have any interest in global communications, it's a phenomenal opportunity to really network and meet friends and colleagues from around the globe.
Rika, did you say one last thing about your experience?
Sure. Mine's a little different in that I have not been a member for very long, and in fact, the first event I went to was this one last year. So you can see how that went. But I was supposed to say one or two things about the benefits of board involvement, and for me, they've just been staggering. I can't say enough good things about it, but if I have to limit it to two, I'd say number one would be how much easier it has made networking. I personally can't stand the whole like, hi, my name is, with people I don't know. That all becomes so much easier with IABC in general, but multiply that many times over if you're on the board, because people will come up to you. You know, they want to know about what's going on in their chapter, and so it's all done for you. I really like that. So that's the one thing. And the other thing I have to say that as an independent communicator, I've had my own business, consulting and writing for, copywriting for 10 years. And this has been just absolutely brilliant for me because of the idea stealing that you can do at a whole nother level when you get all that access to all these fantastic people.
Call it what it is.
At a whole level. It is what it is. Let's not pull the wool.
No.
So yeah, I mean, it's helped me both professionally, sort of professional development, both in terms of workshops, but also in terms of what everyone else is doing, what's working for them. They actually do come together and talk about that. You get all these ideas, and you get the inside of it. You don't just read about it in some magazine where it's like, oh yeah, cool case study. You actually get to talk to the people who put that into place. So that for me has been just phenomenal, and yeah, I couldn't recommend it highly enough.
Excellent.
Well, thank you all for giving us an opportunity to share a little bit more about the chapter and the plans for the year. So with that, just one more last toast, I think, to all of those amazing volunteers that aren't here right now. I mean, there are a good dozen folks that weren't able to make it tonight that are very engaged. I want to just acknowledge them, and there are also just so many more of us outside of these walls that we want to also acknowledge. So cheers to them.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.